Hello, this is how to install Alpine Linux in QEMU virtual machine with the KDE Plasma desktop. This is the wiki page of Alpine Linux. This is the home page of the Alpine Linux. We can see that the latest version is 322.1. Downloads 322.1. The only option that I can select in here actually is standard. This is the most close to what my goal is, which is a standard GNU Linux style installation in a QEMU virtual machine with a full desktop. So Arch Linux standard x86-64. The ISO file is really small, 270 megabytes in size. So it fits easily on a CD-ROM, not need for a DVD-ROM. Let's install in the virtual machine manager, virt-manager. File, new virtual machine. So we're using x86-64, a standard PC computer, ISO, Alpine, it probably supports all of the latest and greatest features that are available in virt-manager virtual machine templates. So you probably can select many types of virtual machine templates. Should be modern. So 10 gigabytes of random access memory, 14 vCPUs, 200 gigabytes virtual hard disk, virt-IO, Alpine, finish. So BIOS, we can keep probably all of the defaults. No need to change the CPU topology. virt-IO for the hard disk, network interface card virt-IO, tablet for easily getting the mouse out of the virtual machine software. Begin installation. The virtual hard disk is being created. It's booting from the DVD-ROM drive. Let's find out the name of the user and the password that we need to log in, and then how to start the installation wizard. So from the Alpine Linux homepage, docs, installing automatic, says that you can log in without a password as the root user. Let's do that. Alpine has a script called setup Alpine. There's also the command line parameter -q for quick. Let's try first with setup Alpine without the -q parameter. Keyboard layout. There's no EN. There's a US. Hostname. ETH0 DHCP. No manual networking configuration. Root password. Time zone. US/Eastern. No proxy server. Enter the mirror number. Let's see if the mirror number 1, which is the default value, is a fast CDN. Probably so. So enter mirror number 1 is probably the correct choice almost always. We want a user. SSH key or URL for administrator. Which SSH server open SSH. Next up, which disks? PDA. How would you like to use it? I know. Traditional disk installation, there will be a partition /boot, a partition / and swap can be used for desktops. SYS. 200 gigabyte disk will be erased. /boot. Installation is complete. Please reboot. Let's see a bit the documentation. So it says that setup Alpine will run more steps than setup -Alpine-Q. We have specified the host name. I have selected non-S keyboard layout. Hopefully that's English US. I have set up the network interface card and DHCP. The default package repository, and then additionally steps which are skipped by setup -Alpine --Q. I have set up a root password, a time zone, US Eastern, no proxy server SSH, the disk VDA. We don't use answer files. You can set up these values that we have provided previously, the various questions and answers, using setup minus style executable. So setup minus keyboard for key map for keyboard layout. Setup minus hostname. Setup minus interfaces. Okay, so we should have a minimal operating system that's bootable without the CD-ROM drive on the virtual hard disk. We're using BIOS and MS-DOS, so we have a /boot partition, a swap, and a /. Says that we can now reboot. Let's see what's the command line for rebooting. I was the user root, so I have entered the command line reboot. The bootloader menu timeout is correct, so it should be 2 seconds or less, and it seems to be 2 seconds. Otherwise, it's just wasting time. Each time you reboot, it will just sit there for the user to press enter, and the user might not be around to select the default boot entry in the boot menu. Okay. And now it says that after you set up Alpine, you should create a normal user, whereas setup Alpine actually asks for a, it will help you create the user. So maybe this documentation is also for older version of Alpine, or it wasn't updated for the latest version of Alpine. Okay, so no need to create the user. Let's see if we can log in as that user. Let's actually not do that. Let's actually see if we can connect straight using OpenSSH. So we might be able to connect using the user root because it has a password, but we should probably be able to connect using the user that we just created, which is named administrator. Yes. Okay. We're connected using SSH, which is a very important step. /dev/vda3/file format file system ext4. The usual executables are available. Okay, so next up we would want something similar to sudo, such that from using the user administrator we can switch to super user power to the user root. Let's see if bash is available. It's not. PS3. So there's an sh. Which is busybox. This is my wiki page and mariusp.github.io. In here I have this how to install other operating systems and XRDP articles, which have my previous notes on how I installed Alpine Linux. And one of the mentions here is that when you set the default APK mirror, you should also add the community repository. So let's see if this repository still exists and if it's still needed. So let's see what we can do next. The installation user handbook for Alpine Linux is pretty short. We have a page for APK repository. So APK is the package manager. There are stable and edge. We want the latest stable. And then in there, there's main, community, and testing. We for certain want main, and we probably also want community. I'm going to guess that this contains 100 packages and this contains 1000 packages. Let's prove that that's the case. The default mirror was this one, dl-cdn.alpinelinux.org. We can see that Edge is the version we want stable, and then one of the three repos, main, community, and testing. Okay, so you could choose either the version, in this case 3.22, or latest stable. And let's prove that the binary packages that exist in main don't exist in community and vice versa, and there's way many more packages in community. x86-64. Yeah, there's a ton on each. Let's see where KDE Plasma is. So indeed, KDE Plasma is in the community repository. So this says that the APK repositories are configured inside this file /etc/apk/repositories, and we should have a dedicated line for the community. Or we could just search for the Plasma packages using APK search, and we'll see. APK search Plasma. Nothing. Okay, so MC, the Midnight Commander text user interface file manager, is available in the main repository, and all of the KDE things are in the other repository in community. So we should probably edit /etc/apk/repositories file. Let's see if we can become user. Do as su. Do as is installed by default. The first user that is created by the setup Alpine text user interface installer wizard has enough rights such that it's a do-aser, so it can run do-as and become the user root. Okay, let's see what text editors we have in here. There's no nano. Can we install it? How do we install packages? APK search. It's in there. And with APK add. Yeah, let's also use bash. Okay, so nano, and then the path. We should just uncomment the line with community. That's it. And now we can search for a KDE package. There's no cache for community. How do we update the caches? At the chapter upgrading packages, it says that the flow is somewhat similar to APT. So APT update downloads the metadata list of packages available in the repositories, and then APK upgrade will install all of the packages that can be upgraded, that have a newer version in the remote repository compared to the local version. Okay, and now we have the packages, so it's called kwin. So this user handbook talks about APK, then OpenRC, the service manager, and then that's it. We should look for the instructions on how to install the X server and KDE Plasma somewhere else, which is the wiki page of Alpine Linux. So on the homepage alpinelinux.org, top level menu, wiki. So the Alpine Linux wiki, tutorials and how-tos. There's a chapter for desktop. It says that Alpine Linux must be installed in system disk mode, so not in a RAM disk. There exists internet connectivity. We have a non-root user account. We have the community repository enabled. We need probably EU dev and dbus. And there is a setup desktop script, which knows how to install KDE Plasma. Let's see first this script, if it works for our use case. So with the user root, we can probably run setup desktop. We can see this character, which means that this command needs to be run as the user root. Setup desktop. Which desktop environment? And there's no option for Plasma. GNOME, XFC, Mate, Sway, LXQt, and none. Okay, so setup desktop does not work. The instructions are not up to date. There are manual installation instructions. I'm not sure if any KDE Plasma meta package will also enable dbus, eudev, elogin, xorg. Let me follow a bit my tutorial. So we connected using SSH with the user root. We did APK update. We did not yet run APK upgrade, which would be a good idea. So install all of the packages that can be upgraded. Nothing to install. I have installed bash. Let's install some more packages. I don't really need Emacs no X in order to survive because I have installed nano. MC is a good thing to have. Okay, let's see if change shell exists. Nope. CHSH is not available out of the box. So I searched on Google Alpine Wiki change shell. Says that the default version of SH is BusyBox ASH. That bash is available as a package, which we did install, apk-add bash. And then we want to change the default shell for both users, administrator, and root. Right now we're the user root. So for that we want chsh change shell. which is part of the package shadow. Okay, chsh. And we need a shell, the full path of the shell that exists in /etc/shells. /bin/bash. Okay, now let's do the same for the user administrator. -s means the shell, this parameter. And we don't need to specify the Linux user account because by default, the current user account is used. The login parameter is optional. Let's continue following the wiki page for how to set up and install KDE Plasma desktop. We did enable the community repository. This is how /etc/apk/repositories looks like. Next up, we need EU dev. Let's see if setup -devd is available. We need to be the user root. Okay, so we did that. Next up, install and enable dbus. Install dbus. Dbus launch for Xorg. We're going to use X11. apk add dbus -x11. We need to enable dbus. This enables dbus add startup. So system similar to systemctl enable. And then we also want to start it now. Next up, we want the Xorg base packages. We have this executable, set up Xorg base. I am the user root. It has installed some packages, enabled EU dev. which you already did also. Enable elogin D. Polkit must be configured with elogin D. It's not installed at all. So let's install the APK package. Enabled it as at the next startup and start it now. We're not using Wayland, but the package f86 input lib input was probably already installed. This one, the 19th package out of 55 that were installed by setup -xorg -base. Okay, setup desktop we already tried and doesn't provide an option for KDE Plasma. Okay, there are meta packages which install many APK packages required for KDE Plasma. There's the Plasma desktop meta package. And probably there's also the Plasma package. This one. Okay, let's see what about the Polkit elogin D. It says that Polkit must be configured with elogin D. Let's install the package. And we also need to enable the Polkit service and start it. Okay. So Polkit, elogin D, dbus, udev, eudev. Let's see the packages that are going to be installed by the meta package plasma -desktop -meta. This is the package search, packages.alpinelinux.org, pkgs. We want the newest branch, but not edge. We want architecture AMD64, search. And it depends. Font Noto, the info center, Plasma desktop, SDDM Breeze, the SDDM configuration center, system settings. Yeah, the list of packages is really small. I don't see even console in here or SDDM. Maybe they are dependencies of one of these packages. Let's install some more packages. First of all, we want the meta package plasma-desktop-meta. If console is not already part of this meta package via recursive dependencies, Firefox, such that we have a web browser, 570 packages to download and install. A ton of X libraries, Qt 6 libraries, KDE Framework 6 libraries, multimedia libraries, compression libraries, image libraries, GTK, the Discover App Store, IM input methods, wire plumber, network manager, pulse audio, Python 3 modules. Says that the KDE Display Manager SDDM has already been installed, but maybe not enabled at the next reboot. So we're going to enable it and also start it. SDDM failed to start. SDDM is already running. We can also start using xinit, the X server, and the KDE Plasma session. Let's see how we are in this tutorial, how far we are. So we did all of these things, and now we can just reboot the computer. Hopefully next time the Alpine Linux virtual machine will start in graphical user interface mode with the desktop manager SDDM running. Yes, we have SDDM. Let's see if we can log in. Okay, everything seems to have worked correctly. We did what we wanted, which is install Alpine Linux latest version in QEMU virtual machine using virt-manager virtual machine manager. We have the KDE Plasma 6 session running. We have SDDM running, X11. Now it says that we might want to install the Discover application store, which was already installed. It was part of the meta package plasma-desktop-meta. We can see that the backend for Discover backend APK has been installed because we can manage the APK sources. We can see main and community available. And then additionally, we might want to also install and enable the Discover backend Flatpak for installing Flatpaks from FlatHub. Let's see how that works. Discover backend Flatpak. Console has been installed. Let's pin it to the start menu, add to favorites. Okay. do a su become super user, apk add discover backend Flatpak. Okay, let's restart the App Store. It's already pinned to the main KDE Plasma panel. We can see that the Flatpak backend for the KDE App Store named Plasma Discover has been installed. There's no Flatpak remote enabled yet, and we actually want flathub.org, which is the default remote that people usually use when they use Flatpak. So I clicked on this button, add Flatpak. This is the FlatHub remote has been added, the meta package, the list of the metadata with the list of applications that can be installed from FlatHub has been downloaded. We have icons, we have titles of applications, subtitles, descriptions, user ratings. I'm not sure what the sorting, but the default sorting is. Says rating. Wow. The sort order is very random, at least for a first installation of KDE Plasma. You can install KDE software from FlatHub or from the APK. Let's see such an example. Do we have the calculator? So the desktop calculator has not been installed from APKs. We might see if it's available in FlatHub. How do we do that? So the page FlatHub with lowercase f is actually the page settings, so there's no possibility of searching through this list from what I see. Let's go to all applications and search for kcalc. Press enter. It offers two sources. We can install kcalc application both from Alpine Linux APK upstream repositories, package repositories, or from FlatHub, but installed per user. Wow. Let's see that option. So the two applications are different. The kcalc that's installed from FlatHub versus the one that's installed from APK. The screenshots were different, the versions are different, the sizes, everything is different. When you install kcalc, in this case from FlatHub for the first time, or when you install the first Flatpak from FlatHub, that depends on the org.kde framework, the platform. Flatpak from FlatHub, that platform and all of its dependencies will be downloaded, the extensions. Let's see the exact list of Flatpaks that has been installed. This was very interesting. So it seems that the Discover Backend Flatpak APK package does not depend on the Flatpak command line tools. Maybe it just uses a Flatpak library that's probably also used by the Flatpak executables. So let's see where that is. apk search Flatpak. Probably this one. Okay. Let's look at the exact list. We have installed just org.kd.kcalc. We have installed it per user, not per the entire installation. So if you have a different Linux user account on this Alpine Linux machine, that user will not have any of these Flatpak packages installed. It's an interesting decision to add the FlatHub remote per user, not per system by default. This is what I do. I install FlatHub remote per user, not per system, because I usually have just one interactive graphical user interface user. Okay, so I have installed kcalc, which is a very small package, but then that depends on org.kd.platform version 6.9, and then that depends on these extras from the org.freedesktop.platform. And it's already theming GTK3 applications with the default KDE Plasma theme, which is Breeze Lite. Let's make sure that the application starts. We have the launch button from the Discover App Store. Let's see if it starts successfully. If not, we might need to restart the computer. Let's see if we can do settings in system settings. So I want bigger mouse cursors, Breeze default, change the size from 24 to 36. Screen edges, nothing on the top left, outer 15%, fonts, subpixel rendering RGB, and full. Okay, so I have pressed the launch button twice for kcalc. Nothing seems to have happened. So the desktop will need to be restarted. Let's actually do that. Let's actually restart the entire computer. Let's see how fast rebooting is. So it rebooted the computer. The boot entries menu is very fast, just 2 seconds. We're back at SDDM. Let's make sure that kcal has been added to the start menu and that it starts correctly, uses the correct theme. So the same theme should be used by both kcalc and console. Console was installed from APKs, kcalc from FlatHub. More, show menu bar with all actions, Ctrl-Shift-M. Help, about console. So the FlatHub versions is newer, 25.04.1 versus 25.04.2. The KDE Frameworks version is newer. The Qt version is newer. And it says that we have booted in Wayland mode, which I did not want. But in SDDM, I did not select the non-default session. So let's do that. Log out. So logging out should take us back to the SDDM desktop manager. The chances are that I did not install SDDM or Polkit or eLogin-D or EUDev or dbus correctly. In the virtual terminals, we can log in text user interface mode. In VT1, we're at this screen where instead of seeing SDDM, we're seeing a black screen with a mouse, a blinking cursor. Let's see if restarting works. So this is something to investigate. If I can reproduce the issue, to log in as the user administrator in the KDE Plasma Wayland session, and then if I log out, can I see SDDM or not? Where is the list of sessions? It seems that the KDE Plasma Wayland session is installed if we follow these steps. So probably part of the Plasma-desktop-meta package. Whereas the other session, the Start Plasma-X11 session, is not installed by default. If you autocomplete Start Plasma- tab, it just autocompletes to Wayland because there's no other options. So I have searched on Google Alpine Linux KDE Plasma X11 session. There's release notes from the latest release 3.22, which say that the changes in KDE Plasma contain the fact that the X11 session has been removed altogether. There's no package that is providing it. Previously, the package that provided the session was named Plasma-Workspace-X11. If I search for KDE grep for X11, nothing shows. If I search for Plasma grep X11, nothing shows. Wayland is the only available option now. But then maybe KWin X11 is still available. So it says that KWin_X11 is still available as part of the APK package KWin. The previous package that existed in Alpine Linux 6.2, in Alpine Linux 3.21, is this one, Plasma-Workspace-X11. Provides the command line start Plasma-X11. Maybe there's a community package that's totally outside of the default Alpine Linux package repositories that contains the few files that are actually X11 specific and needed to create the X11 session, for instance, inside SDDM. But I could not find it. And if I only have Wayland, then I will not be able to set up the Remote Desktop Protocol server XRDP. On the virtual machine, I will probably not be able to install a VNC server, so I will not be able to connect remotely correctly to this virtual machine. And I'm also forced to use the virtualization software, which I don't want. I usually do not want to use the graphical console SPICE. There's disadvantages to using this compared to using, for instance, the Tiger VNC server or the XRDP RDP server. The disadvantages are the fact that when I resize the window, the operating system does not resize automatically, so the KDE Plasma session inside the Alpine Linux virtual machine doesn't change to this resolution that's inside the virt-manager window. And that also copy-paste of text doesn't work. Might work with extra things, installing extra packages, QEMU virt-manager additions or something, but I don't bother with those. When I install Windows in any type of virtualization software, I always connect using RDP. This saves me from needing to install the VMware guest additions, the VMware tools, the VirtualBox additions, etc., depending on the virtualization software that I use to run the Windows virtual machine. And the same for Linux. I install Linux on virt-manager usually when I'm using the host operating system Linux. When I'm using the host operating system Windows, I probably am using Hyper-V. If not, I can use VirtualBox virtualization software on both Windows hosts and Linux hosts. But I still prefer connecting via the Remote Desktop Protocol because it's fast, it's responsive. I can connect remotely to these virtual machines via my VPN. I can resize the RDP client window that will resize correctly the resolution KDE Plasma. Copy paste of text works bidirectionally, which means that I don't really have a need to start a web browser inside the virtual machine, which means I can allocate less random access memory for this virtual machine. Most of the random access memory that I allocate for virtual machines is going to be used either by the web browsers that I run inside the virtual machine, or if I do heavily multi-threaded C++ compile jobs. So this was it. This was how to install Alpine Linux, the latest version 3.22.1, using KDE Plasma 6 in a virt-manager QEMU VM Linux virtual machine. I wanted to install X11 and I could not. I am forced to use Wayland. Thank you.